Today we're going to talk about strategies for writing exams during COVID-19. Hi, I'm Emily McIsaac. I'm the Student Engagement and Instructional Librarian here at Holland College. Please feel free to get in touch at ermcisaac@hollandcollege.com. The goal of today's session is for you to understand the difference between a take-home exam as well as written exam, and I will give you skills to prepare for your exams as well as provide tips and tricks to write exams with less stress. COVID-19 has made exam season even harder. As we're working from home, we are more likely to be assigned take-home exams which we've never taken before, or we're writing in-person exams with a cohort we haven't seen in a really long time. And I'm going to give you skills to tackle both of these issues. What's the difference? Well, take-home exams, class materials are available to you. They're submitted within a few days or a week, and they often ask for more detailed and cited answers. Whereas in-class exams, class materials are unavailable. They are monitored by instructors during a set time, and multiple choice and essay questions are provided. This is common in a take-home exam, but the expectations are different. Here are some productivity reminders. I've gone through a lot of these before, so I won't spend too much time on it, but I do want to draw your attention to using an agenda because keeping yourself organized will boost up your grades and make your life a lot easier as you plan to study and you plan to have fun. I will talk more about that later. I also want to talk about getting rid of distractions. That means electronic as well as mental distractions. Whenever you're going to study, make sure you keep your phone in another room, or be sure you're not sending out a text or Snapchat right before you need to study, because you will get a response, but realistically you know you should be studying in the time designated to do so. Also, I really want you to ditch that negative self-talk. That means you're telling yourself positive things to get yourself through that study period, through the exam, because your brain believes everything you tell it. So tell it positive messages. Let's talk take-home exams. How to prepare. Take-home prep in 4 parts: diagnosis, condensing, reviewing, and rules. Diagnosis is basically just figuring out what you think will be on the take-home and being able to review your syllabus to find the course themes and concepts so you can chunk them up and discover if there's any gaps in your knowledge and asking your instructor for help if there is. Condensing is when you look at all of your notes and find the most important pieces to the puzzle. So you review your course notes, figure out if there's any gaps in your notes, and talking to your classmates to compare and fill in any of those missing pieces that may appear. And of course, find all your necessary readings, slides, and handouts, because nothing is worse than scrambling around to find the perfect slideshow to answer a specific question in your take-home exam. So condensing all your notes and gathering everything to stay organized so you don't waste time while you're writing. Reviewing is basically studying. You don't have to memorize as much as you would for an in-person exam, but you still need to actively engage with material, and you could create a cheat sheet for the tricky content that will be on your take-home exam. And then of course, by finding relevant examples, it makes your answers in the take-home exam look really good. Here's a tip. Use modules in SAM and review those discussion questions and learning objectives in each section, because often instructors give some great feedback in those sections, and you can use that in your take-home. Rules. This is the biggest difference between a take-home exam and an in-class written exam. You need to know how much detail is required in each answer. Do you need to cite the information? When is the due date? And how and where do you submit your take-home exam? Be sure you know the rules for each take-home exam, because every instructor is different and might have different rules, and you don't want to lose marks because you submitted it on the wrong day. Here's a tip. Tell people you're living with that you're writing an exam. If you have a family, if you live at home, or you have roommates, telling them that you're going to be busy from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. because you're writing an exam, it lets them know that they cannot disturb you during that specific time, and you can write this exam without disturbances. Alright, let's talk in-class exams. How do you prepare? Again, you can take a lot of the same skills that I mentioned in the take-home exam section into this section. Don't skip final classes, because this is when the instructor will give hints or give extra guidance on how to answer your exam questions, and you can make study groups with the others who also go to these final classes. So don't skip these classes. You'll get insight into your exam and get more help if you need it. Now, create a study schedule. And to do this, you just need to schedule fun first, and that way you'll actually stick to your study schedule. So you have to include all the things you have to do. So that means school from 9 until 4. If you work on the weekends, be sure to block out that time. But then if on Saturday morning you want to watch a couple episodes of Friends, put that in your schedule as well. And then step 2, not so fun, that's when you can schedule in how much time you need to study for each of your subjects. You need to stick to the time you have allotted for each thing. So if you have scheduled yourself to watch Friends for 2 hours, do not watch it for 3 hours, because that's cutting into your time to study for math or another subject. So just be sure that you're actually sticking to the schedule you put out for yourself. Be task oriented in small chunks. So that means if you're studying for math for 2 hours, create a list of things you want to achieve in that 2-hour time slot. And then follow the Pomodoro study technique, which is studying for 25 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break, and then studying again for another 25 minutes and taking another 5-minute break. That is the best way for you to stay on task, get a little break. You can use your phone during those 5-minute breaks, and again, stay on task. Tricks while you're actually writing your in-class exam. Take a deep breath. When you sit down at the table before the exam is handed out, take a breath, relax, everything is going to be okay. And be sure you have a piece of spare paper with you, so you can write down random facts that you have in your brain that are just floating around in there that will be useful for later. And then look over the entire exam. This will also help calm your nerves. So look at the entire exam. As you look at the questions, scribble down notes if something comes to mind as you're looking at it and you're able to get a better sense of what's being asked of you. Allocate time. This is a big deal because you want to make sure you're getting the biggest bang for your buck for in-person exams. So always answer everything you know first. So multiple choice, if there's questions that you know right away, do those first and then go back. And same with essay questions. Do not spend 45 minutes on one essay question, because if they want you to answer 3 and you spent 45 minutes on one, then you won't have enough time to answer the other 2 properly, and you won't get a good mark despite answering that first essay question really well. That kind of falls into the next section. Fill in everything. Your instructor will give you part marks rather than no marks if you don't put anything. And finally, don't worry about anybody else. It's not a victory to get up with an hour left in your exam. Oftentimes, an exam is meant to last the full time slot. And if you leave early, sometimes that's a bad thing. And if you have extra time, be sure you're reviewing your exam, filling in anything you haven't filled in, or adding more detail to your essay questions. This is another great tip. Avoid the pre-exam hallway lineup. If you're an anxious tester, even if people are 6 feet apart, they're still going to be talking about how stressed out they are for this exam. So avoid this by studying somewhere else, or if you see people starting to line up, put your mask on, put your headphones in, and just study your notes in your own little zone without worrying about what other people are saying, so you can head into the exam with a good mental state. Always ask for extra help. Student Services has test accommodations that will help you get through this tough exam season. Remember, you did your best. If you prepped with all of these tricks and tips that I've given you, and you've studied and you did everything you needed to do before this exam, you did your best. You brought all of it to the table, and don't beat yourself up about it, because you did what you can do, and that should be enough to get a good mark. Here are some online resources. Again, Holland College has some great strategies for you as students, so check that out through Student Services. And there are tons of online resources to create an effective study schedule, as well as dealing with test-taking anxiety. Thank you so much. You're now ready for exam season. Good luck.